ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're about to start. I'll post the guard directly, but before we start, I'll let you know this morning we have an apology from Senator Fiona Nash, and in his place that we've been addressed by Commander Cliff Kyle from the HMAS Albatross Navy contingent. After that we'll have the last post, the moment of silence, the Red Valley, and that'll be our service for this morning. So we're about to start. Guard. Post the guard. On this day, centenary of Anzac, in the darkness, the Anzacs stormed ashore in a place now known as Anzac Cove. It was our first major contribution to the world as a nation. Australia was only 14 years old. 2,000 Anzacs were dead by the end of that day. But through perseverance, courage and comradeship, they held their ground. It was certainly a baptism of fire. The campaign lasted another 8 months until the 35,000 Anzacs remaining were evacuated. We should never forget the deeds, courage and fortitude of these original Anzacs. At Lone Pine, in just over 2 days, from the August 6, 1915, 7 Victoria Crosses were awarded for valour to Australians. They established a tradition and national pride that we should be proud to follow. These Anzacs and many thousands of other men and women went on to fight for battles in Europe, where small villages named are etched in our history, from Elves, Bullencourt and Mount St Quentin, to name just a few. We remember the terrible losses of the trench war in Europe and the brilliant victories of Sir John Monash with the Australian Corps in France in 1918. Of course, there are many more names from other wars where Australian lives were lost in cause of a better world. We remember the airmen who flew the hazardous missions over Europe in World War II, the government pilots who fought in the victory at Milne Bay. We remember the sailors and submarines who were away from home for long periods on hazardous missions, fighting to keep the vital sea lanes open. HMAS Sydney, Midway and Coral Sea. These were battles near our homeland. In the hospitable terrain of New Guinea, remember those who become prisoners of the war. But in those terrible battles, young Australians earned reputations for courage, self-reliance and mateship. The experience drew Australians together as a nation and established their national character. The standard that they set and the Anzac spirit has been handed down ever since to all Australian soldiers, sailors and airmen who followed them from World War II to Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan and many peacekeeping operations in the Middle East, Pakistan and Southeast Asia. We do not celebrate and commemorate the Anzac spirit lightly. In this centenary year, and in my readings of World War I and the original Anzacs, some very clear images emerge. Firstly, they were men and women of great character, resilience, selflessness and perseverance, that looked after each other and would never consider leaving a comrade behind. Officers shared the same hardships and dangers equally with their soldiers. They possessed an enormous desire to do the duty for their country. While they were not professional soldiers, once convinced that war was for a just cause, they made the commitment and got on with the job with energy and initiative. They took great pride showing what Australians could do and matched it with the best in the world, and they were successful with the result. The first Australian Imperial Force was a great society, a community, based on equality, tolerance and a fair go for all. They did not care where the person came from. They did not care of their religion or their colour of the skin. Only that they did their job well led, and the Anzacs adopted quickly and were second to none. The spirit of Anzac is as relevant today to all of us as it was 80 years ago. We need to be vigilant that our society remains one that values freedom, tolerance and a fair go for all. We need to maintain their sense of commitment, courage and perseverance to get through the tough times. The need for us to look after each other is probably the greater now than at any other time. The Anzacs focused on what was really important and we must do today in our everyday lives and qualities exemplified by those Anzacs are of the great relevance to use here today, lest we forget. I now ask Commander Cliff Kyle from HMAS Albatross to give an address.
Time dims the memory of ordinary events, but not great events. In a nation's history, great events, whether in peace or war, live in our memories regardless of time. They are deemed great not necessarily for what they achieved, nor for whether they were victories or successes. Rather, great events are distinguished by the quality of the human endeavour they called upon, by the examples they create for ordinary men and women, and by the legends they inspire. So it is with Anzac Day. On the 25th of April 1915, 16,000 Australians and New Zealanders surged ashore at the foothills of the rugged cliffs on the Dardanelles Peninsula, Turkey, to open a campaign intended to give Allied shipping access to the Black Sea, bring help to Russia, and perhaps force Turkey out of the war. It was, historians say, an ill-conceived campaign in pursuit of a vague objective, premised on an underestimation of military prowess and character of the Turkish soldiers, and of the tactical advantages that they held. But the cream of the Australian and New Zealand armies, all of them volunteers, committed themselves with no hesitation about the nobility of their cause and fought with great courage, skill and audacity. In the 8 months that followed their first landing, some 50,000 Anzacs were committed to the battlefront, alongside substantially more British, French and Indian comrades. When the last of them was withdrawn as the winter set in, about 11,000 lay dead, and with them many more Turkish soldiers. While the Anzacs' withdrawal from Gallipoli was brilliantly planned and executed, the campaign itself cannot be described as anything but a defeat. However, the achievements of the Anzacs can be measured in other than strategy, tactics and battles. Their true achievements were in their courage, determination, mateship and sacrifice. These are achievements that set the standards that inspired their countrymen for generations to follow. The legends they established gave fresh voice, new feelings of national pride in both young nations, and the news of their suffering on reaching the homes of anxiously awaiting families brought people together in ways they had not known before. For Australians and New Zealanders, Anzac is our own day. It is a day that we mark the deeds of men and women who come to see themselves as Australians and New Zealanders, and who are mourned by people who regarded themselves as Australians and New Zealanders. The names on the public memorials existing in virtually all of our small towns and cities are important and regular reminders of the losses our nations felt in those darker days. The Anzacs indeed command and deserve the respect and remembrance of present and future generations. On the 25th of April, New Zealanders and Australians at home and abroad have gathered to commemorate not just those Anzacs who died on that day, but all current and former women and men of our Defence Force. We remember on this day those who fell in all the wars, Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, and more recently in Afghanistan and Iraq. Duty, patriotism, individual sacrifice, and the affirmation of the Australian and New Zealanders' relationship are the enduring legacies of Gallipoli and all subsequent conflicts involving our two nations. The men and women who forged the Anzac spirit made those who led them earn their respect. They all understood the values of independence, freedom, fairness, and above all, possessed a willingness to defend these things if need be. Because freedom only survives as long as people are willing to defend it. That is the Anzac spirit handed down to us. If we lose that Anzac spirit, we lose all. So here we stand today alongside thousands of others of great men and women in a great tradition. We gather, as we shall always, not to glorify war, but to remind us that we value who and the freedoms that we possess, and acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of those who contributed so much in shaping the identity of this proud nation and those that continue to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commander. The last post will now be played. they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our commemoration this morning, the dawn service. A delegation will now be going up to lay wreaths at the cemetery, and we'll be joining many for breakfast. Thank you. I must again offer my apologies on behalf of Senator Fiona Nash. She was called to New Zealand by the Prime Minister in the last couple of days, so that's why she's not with us today. Thank you. Guard. Dismiss the guard.
Party. Love. Party. Quick.
Parade commander.
Ball out.
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.